Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining our open demo today of Cognition360. I'm Christy Perez, I'm the Partner Success Manager here at Cognition360. Today we're going to basically be walking you through some of our core reports. I also have Adam Edwards on the call. Adam is a data analyst for us. Adam has actually been in the MSP space about 10 years with a couple of years in consulting. So we're also here to answer any questions that you have. A little bit about my background. I've been in the MSP space about 20 years, kind of shows my age there over Adam. And mostly on the operational side. I've been using ConnectWise since about 2003. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, these reports are pretty amazing. It's why I'm here today. I have never seen reporting like this for ConnectWise data. So it's definitely a need in the industry, and I can't wait to show you what we have available today. A little bit about our purpose. Basically, it's, are you measuring your data on muscle and feel? Are you able to pull the data that you need to? Do you know which clients are profitable, which clients that you need to focus on? So we've got reports that will really help you quickly to see that information. Also, do you know when to hire? From a capacity standpoint, what are some of these metrics that you should be watching to figure out, should I hire or should I not hire? Do I have too many people or not enough people? And then also, do your teams have what they need to meet with their clients? So as an account manager, are they having to pull a bunch of data from different places to meet with their client, or do they have the data right at their fingertips to be able to go and pull themselves without having to go ask others in the company? So that's a little bit about how some of the reports can help you. A few of the problems that we're solving, insights in clicks of seconds. So literally click on a report, drill into a report down even further to see, it's like, hey, this profit on this agreement dropped last month. Okay, why did this drop? Quickly being able to get in there and see that type of information. We do have what we call our TBR reports. Some people call them QBRs, strategic business review. So we do have full templated out technology business review reports that I'm hoping we have time to get to today, so I can at least show you a little bit of about what that looks like as well. And just overall, where is your team spending their time? How much lost time do you have? How much time is being spent on, in meetings? Are we having death by meeting? So those are just a few of the problems that we're going to help solve with the report. So, Cognition360 is looked at as true analytical reporting. Some of the benefits of Cognition360 is the historical data that you can get. So, we can actually go back as far as you want, as long as you've had ConnectWise. Usually in the beginning, we usually pull in about 2 years of service data and about 3 years of financial. But if you need more, we can pull that in for you. We run on Power BI reporting. So to use the reports, you would need a Power BI Pro license, and everybody in the company would need that as well. We actually have a new feature now called the Cognition360 portal, which is portal access through web browser, where you don't need that Power BI Pro license, and you can actually set up client portal access as well to get those client-facing reporting options to your clients. So anybody interested in that, please put it in your questions in the chat. Adam will be manning that chat window and that question window, and we're hoping to get these questions answered for you as they come in. If we have too many come in, we'll definitely save some time at the end to make sure and answer those for you. Little bit information here on Adam, which I've already talked about. Adam is such a huge asset to Cognition360. Always picking his brain from the consulting side of the ConnectWise space. So feel free to pick his brain too while you've got him today. Another thing, we will be doing a poll towards the end of the session. So just be ready for that. And Adam, please remind me to do it, because sometimes I forget that. So I will go ahead and get started. Let me just go ahead and pull up some reports while we're all here today. So when you first log into Power BI, the way everything is set up is almost in Workspaces. So you can kind of see this is demo data, but you can kind of see by department how these workspaces are set up. We actually have a few other workspaces that aren't in here. We actually have a full procurement workspace that is actually not in demo. So if you're interested in seeing anything on procurement, please put your information in that chat or Q&A, and I can make sure and get some information sent over to you about our new procurement workspace. We actually recently did a webinar for our partners, so I could give you that webinar so you can see what's available in that new procurement workspace as well. I'm going to dive into team utilization first. So whenever I first look at someone's data, one of the first things I do want to look at is utilization. How is time going in? How much of time is going in? Utilization for Cognition 360 is anything on the timesheet. So we're looking for internal time, all charge code time, client time, and is that equaling as close to 100% as possible, at least on those billable resources that you have. Realization is going to be client time only. So we're going to pull out any of that internal time to let you see how much percentage is realized. And then out of that realized time, how much of that is billable. So this is going to include any of those no charge or do not bill entries. So if you have like communication or email set up as do not bill, it would get pulled out of there. Sometimes that's what I see when that goes down a little lower. If you go down to this comparison page here, this is going to list out your team. This is a Cognition 360 field. It can be set up with as many teams as you want. So if you have a large team, you could have like help desk T1 team, T2 team, however you want to do it to kind of sort the data to get those metrics that you want. Here we're looking at total available hours. I'm looking at a month of data for January. I can see that everybody's in here is 100 to 176 hours. It's letting me know that everybody is set at a member capacity of 8. And then here you've got a PTO column. So we're actually going to look for PTO charge codes, and we're going to pull those out and then say this is what the true staff available hours are for any particular person. And then out of that, how much time did they put onto their timesheet? So if I'm looking at Lizbeth here, I can see she had 154.13 hours available, and then she was utilized 161. So a little overutilized, about 105%. And I can also tell that all of the time she put in was actually client time. Where if you look down at Chet, you can see still very highly utilized engineer. And then out of that, about 99% of his time was realized time. So there was a little bit of no charge. Of internal time in there. And then here is that billable. So for both of these, you can see that there's a little bit of no charge or do not bill time in there. This KPI, or I look at this billable per day as a key KPI in the industry. How much are we average billing per day on each of our teams? Of course, this KPI might be a little different per team, and that's where setting up these teams a little, if you have like a lot of on-site resources that are scheduled out, might be okay for them to be at 7.5 hours billable. If they're scheduled out, their time should be high from a billable standpoint. Remote workers, remote help desk, I'm usually looking for about 6.5 hours billable, somewhere around that 85% mark. That's the KPI you want to look for. So from a capacity standpoint, if I start seeing this kind of starting to go up over that, I'm going to think, okay, it's about time to start looking or getting on that virtual bench if you have one, looking for someone to pull into that team from another department, or getting that new hire information out to get somebody else new on this team, so you can make sure that these folks up here that might be getting closer to that 7, you want to make sure they're not getting burnt out, that kind of thing. Lots of other information in here if you want to see, how much of my realized time was no charge, how much of my agreement time was billable, non-billable. I do like seeing all agreement time is billable. Most of the, if it's an all-inclusive agreement, all of that time should be considered billable in my, kind of how I look at it. So I do like seeing that. It could be that you've got charge code or work type set up as do not bill just across the board, like your email or communication, which is fine as well. The other thing you can do with our reports is you have drill through capabilities on pretty much all of them to drill down into the data even further. So like if I wanted to see what is all this time that Lizbeth is working on, I'm now looking at all of her time. I can see up here by work category. I can click into charge codes. I can see that our sample data is a little incorrect with this being charge code data, so it would be an internal and not as client. Or let me just see that time for agreement time. You can sort by invoiceable hours, however you want to look at it. And then if you need to go back into the data further, you do have the tickets to go directly back into your ConnectWise Manage as well. A lot of other reporting in here. You can kind of see how like we're in the team utilization report, and then within the team utilization report there are all these pages. Within Power BI, the pages are basically additional reports. So here you can see this is relative date feature. Most of the reports will have this comparison dates feature as well, and that's a way to do like kind of a between date. So you can say, show me a week ago, 3 weeks back, or you have compare periods. So you could say, show me period A over period B. If you're, curious for like new hires in the beginning, they should be highly utilized with your training charge codes, but realization going to be low. 3 months in, how are they stacking up to the rest of the team? And maybe some of those team members that had a higher billable per day, is that coming back down to get them into the range that they should be in? Hourly labor, this one is a super cool report. I love how you can actually see when your work is being done across any time period. So you could look at this for last week, drill into it by person, and actually see when are they putting their time in. Great reports. I think this one was put in during COVID, actually, so you could actually drill in to individual people and see, okay, where is their time going in? Where are they working the most per day? So it kind of, if you've got a lot of overlap or you're worried about overlap time, this is going to show you, hey, this is when their time entries are going in, per day. So that's a little bit on utilization. Once all of our time is in, I like to go over to technician efficiency. Did we have any questions so far, Adam?
No, I was just going to ask to see an example of the labor range change. Once you change that labor range, how the data actually reflects that as well.
Oh, up here?
Mhm.
Yeah, so like if I go to 1 week, oh, sorry, it's not going to do that because our data for demo is not back that far. So now you can see I'm just looking at last calendar month. So we were looking at last 24 weeks. Now we're basically looking at last 4 weeks or last calendar. And then, of course, down here at the bottom, you have by individual person. You can also take this down all the way to the day as well. So you can kind of see on average, per hour, what are they working on Mondays versus Fridays, for instance.
Cool, thank you. Just wanted to see the data update in real time.
Technician efficiency. So technician efficiency reporting is what are we working on in a day. So it's not closed tickets. We do have KPI reporting for that. This is how many tickets are being touched or worked on. Again, sorting this by team to see, okay, this is my true like level 1 help desk team. How many tickets are they working on versus my level 3s? So down here at the bottom, I can see this person's working about 12 tickets per day. Looking at last 6 months of data, again, you can say, just show me last week if you wanted to. And then we're also going to take it all the way down to like the minutes per ticket. So I can see that these 12 tickets are being worked in about 34 minutes per ticket, where Chet working a little bit less than Lachelle, and it's taken him a little bit longer to work those tickets that he's working on. So this is another kind of cool one to watch from a new hire, where at the beginning their tickets might be really, really high, and then as the weeks go and they get adjusted to working your processes, procedures, that number, will start going down. So you can see how quickly that time or that average minute per ticket goes down based on their role. If you're using configs, we're going to let you see how many of those tickets do have configs attached from a percentage standpoint. And then here you've got valid, type, subtype, and item. What we mean by valid is it's basically not sitting at blank or must change. So something is picked. We can't really tell if the right thing is picked yet. We are working on some AI stuff in the background right now with another company to hopefully get that data if you don't have good type, subtype, and item data. So hopefully that's coming sometime in 2023. So here I can see that, very good type, subtype, and item data. Common issue reporting, which is our type, subtype, and item reporting, is probably some of my favorite. It's probably one of the reports when I first looked at Cognition, I was like, okay, yes, I will work here. This is amazing. I've been trying to build this myself and I couldn't. And now it's at, clicks of buttons for you to be able to see this type, subtype, and item data by client, by resource cost, all of that. Time to first time entry. This one, a little different than your SLA reporting that is, like I responded with my auto email. This is truly letting you see when a ticket is logged, how long is it taking on average to work these tickets? So like if it's your T1 team that's, supposed to be hitting these tickets first, how quickly is our clients getting response on average? This report you can see up here has a kind of a toggle. I've got this sorted by median to kind of pull out those highs and lows for like those maybe scheduled out workstation tickets or new user setups. If you hit average, you'll see how this number kind of pops up. It's working. I'm like, it didn't pop up. There we go. So here is your true average, which here is your median, which is giving you a better indication of what it's usually looking at. You can also see over here on the right, you have tons of right side filters. So one of the beauties of Power BI is being able to filter the data however you want. So you can see here, I'm just looking at this one network operations board. I know that this board requires type, subtype, and item, where you might have another board that doesn't. Or I know that, my help desk team mainly works on this board. So I want to look at their data based on this board. Or I just want to see my knock tickets. How many of those are we, knocking out in a day? You can also sort by type, subtype, and item. So for instance, if you have a subtype or an item of workstation set up and you want to remove that to get this number in a more realistic frame, you can do that. Or you do have capability to drill in. So here, if I click on someone, it is going to show me their daily metrics down here at the bottom. Or you can drill through and look at all of the tickets that person has touched over that time period that you have selected. So like here, if I come over here to my time to first time entry, you will have your summaries in here. So you can see, like, here's a ticket that wasn't touched for 66 hours from time to first time entry, from logged. Again, it could be those scheduled out tickets. So this is the reason why I like using that median a little better than that average. So that's a little bit on efficiency.
Christy, a question
Yeah.
on that time to first time entry. You told us that definition, but where else in this report are definitions usually listed?
Oh, cool. Yes. Report information page. So all of the reports are going to have this report information page for you. It's like a glossary that basically says this is how we're calculating this, or this is what we mean by this. And then you can see down here at the bottom, here's that time to first time entry, average or median time. And it is actually in business hours. So that is another question I get. What if it comes in at 2 a.m. in the morning? It's not going to count that clock until your business hours begin. I'm going to get rid of some of these up here. KPI reporting. So like I said before, efficiency, all tickets worked on. KPI reporting is your closed ticket reporting. We actually have made a few adjustments to this report in real-time data where you actually see worked on and closed. So it's got a few more columns. This demo still just shows the closed tickets. So you can see here, I'm looking at only particular boards. It's going to let me see which boards I have selected. And then here I'm looking at particular team. Again, you can look at this, show me, last week, how many tickets did we close last week on this board by person. I can see Lachelle closed about 44 tickets. And out of those tickets, her closed first contact and first contact resolution was right around 60%. So sometimes you hear first touch resolution. The difference between these two, closed first contact is basically 0 or 1 time entry ticket. And then your first contact or first touch resolution is truly just one-time entry. We do exclude out tickets that are 3 minutes or less. So like if it's an email or communication ticket where time has gone in, it's going to take those out and not ding the engineer for that. And then here you've got your single tech percentages. So I can see that Lachelle, 60% of the time is closing with one touch, and then 97% of the time she's not having to pass that off to someone else. So, great stats if you've got high stats like this for your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 team. Great sales stats to be able to throw out, in a sales call to say, hey, based on our data, where our first touch resolution is this, and our single tech is this. So you're not going to get passed off, to other engineers, which is, I've had experience with, comes up in those sales calls quite a bit. Reopen tickets. You can see here if there's technicians that have a bunch of reopened tickets, you can actually drill into these and look at them. So really good for new hires to drill into those reopened tickets and look at them. Might give you those training opportunities to kind of go and talk to them about if they have a lot of reopened tickets in particular areas. You do have your links to go back into ConnectWise as well, and then you have the information from that ticket. I believe the new reporting also has the summary in there, so you can see that. You can look at KPI reporting Lots of different ways. So like the one I'm showing you right now is by technician. You can actually look at it by customer, by board, by ticket priority. You know, a lot of times if I'm doing an onboarding with account managers, I always say, hey, go into this report. You're meeting with the client, pick the client name out here. So I think like action envelope, for instance, has data in here for one of our sample. So I've clicked action, and now I'm just looking at last 6 months for just action envelope. So I can see they had 5 priority tickets, and this is how quickly we got to those tickets. I had 3 reopen tickets, which I always tell account managers, go and look at these reopen tickets before you meet with the client, because a lot of times that might be where some of your issues are. Of course, you can look by type, subtype, time to resolution. So different ways to look at those closed tickets. All right, so let's get into some financial reporting. This is probably my top favorite report. Being in finance and operations, I was doing this manually myself, and I usually had 2 instances of ConnectWise open and my spreadsheets and everything else, trying to figure out agreement profitability or clients to focus on, which I have heard that I don't think you can even have 2 instances of ConnectWise open anymore since I've been here. Someone was telling me that the other day. So on this summary page, you have agreement profitability summary. This is going to show all of your agreements by type. So you can kind of see over a 12-month period, how much have we billed, what our overall margin is, effective rate, contribution rate for every single type of agreement that we have. Again, this is the page I say, hey, if you need just a quick view to see how you're doing, this is the page that you can kind of come to and look at. Or if you just want to focus on your managed clients, you can click here. It's going to give you those margin trends, effective rate, contribution trends, contribution rate trends over here. And then here you've got your labor hours to see if you have any increases or decreases. You can also drill down and look at it by client as well. So here I can say, oh, okay, car checks, that might be a client I need to come in and put some focus on. If I click on car checks, I can see here, okay, their margin was low, but we're starting to get that fixed. You do have drill through capability from this page to look at all your additions or your invoice, ticket, and labor information. From here, if you click on ticket and labor, it is going to show you the ticket and labor across your months. So you can kind of see where you've had higher or lower months. You can also click on a month. It's going to show you those tickets within that month as well. So you can kind of see, okay, which tickets cause this, to increase. Or you'll see it sorted here. I always laugh at this smallish office move, almost 9.5 hours. So was that office move an actual project? Should it have even been on the agreement? It's stuff like that that's going to point out to you really fast. The other thing that you can do is you've got your type, subtype, and items down here. So this would be a very good example of not very good type, subtype, and item. You can see here it's sitting at must change blank, blank. So if you have it built out, again, you would be able to see quickly, okay, what is that issue? Especially if maybe the summary itself doesn't make sense to you. The page I always say go to next, this is the one I say monthly. Every single month, this agreement profitability agreement details page needs to be looked at. So here I'm looking at the invoice period of last month. So it's not when the invoice was invoiced, like if it was invoiced in December, but it was a period of November, it's going to report the figures based on November. Here you can see how much was billed. I'm going to just select manage just to kind of show just these managed agreements. So up here at the top, I can see that I'm billing about 15K to car checks. My additions are coming in at about 5,200. That's all the additions that you have set up on the additions tab with your tools and everything. And then my labor for last month was about 28 hours for a total labor cost of about 3,300. This labor cost that we have in here, it is coming from the fully burdened rates that you have set in ConnectWise. So if you do not have your rates set up, it's okay, but it is one of those things that we would work with you on and say, hey, it might be a good idea to get these fully burdened rates in or up to date. The cool thing about our reporting is we can backdate these for you to still give you overall true historical profitability. If you have sensitivity issues and you don't want this information in your ConnectWise, we can actually house that information for you as well on the Cognition360 side as well. So here you can see that labor cost coming in, and this is the true actual labor with actual hours. And then here's your profit margin, effective rate, contribution rate as well. Contribution rate, basically the difference between effective rate and contribution rate. Effective rate is going to be the simple math of how much you build less additions. So this is going to be about 10K, and then it's going to be divided by your hours. Contribution rate is actually going to bring in that labor component as well, to let you see kind of truly what are you making per hour on that agreement. So with this, what I'm looking for is anything that's falling into this pink area. So over a month, which agreements did I have an issue with? So here's one, 11%. So I'm like, whoa, what happened? We only made 11% on this agreement. If I click here, it's going to show me down at the bottom where these hours came from. So I can see I had 2 pretty heavy weeks here and then another heavy week here. This is a target hour of 6 here. So basically there's a pretty long calculation. It's down here in this report information page to basically say to get a 50% margin, and we do use an average rate of 60 in the beginning. So those are some numbers that might need to be tweaked once you onboard. You don't want to go over this target rate here. So like here, I can see that this one's a little off, but the target hour will let you see, okay, if I'm staying on target with this and I'm watching this week over week, it's a way to catch these issues during the month that they're happening in, because, once the month's over, it's too late. So like those 14-hour printer tickets that might kill or tank our profitability. And I say that not jokingly, I do see that kind of thing very often. I usually, the 2 biggest things that I see tank profitability on agreements, printers and workstation setups. So if you're still including your workstation setup in an all-inclusive agreement, 10 years ago, we could do that pretty easily. It's a little tough to cover those. And those are the 2 main things where I'll see agreements tank. Now, it's also managed services. So if I had an 11% over 1 month, I might be okay with that if my overall profitability is okay. So this is where that margin review comes into play. So if I'm looking at my margin review report, it's kind of a color-coded chart for you. And then what I'm looking for is stuff that's either staying in the pink or flowing in and out of that pink. I really want everything to kind of be in that blue-gray area. If it's up here in this area, I want to watch it too, especially as an account manager, because I want to make sure that client's getting the value that they need. The ones that are kind of flowing in and out of pink, those are the ones that I need to go in and do a little due diligence on and focus on and make sure that, did they have a bunch of users that came on board that we didn't catch, or are we, supporting old equipment that needs to be renewed or upgraded? And then again, you do have that drill through capability to drill into your ticket and labor. And sometimes it might even be your additions that you need to look at. Now, one of the things I'm always looking for is, do you have any faux labor in your additions? Faux labor being, I've set up my, I'm charging, 180 per user, and then my cost is coming in at 100 because I'm guessing that it's going to be about that much of a cost to support that client. That cost needs to actually be 0 or just the tool cost associated with it if you don't have those tools, laid out underneath in other additions, because we're bringing in the true labor. So you're almost double counting it. So one of the things I'm always going to look for when I start looking at agreements, especially if there's low profitability, is that addition column right here. So if I see something that has, like if this was 14.9 and the addition was coming in at about 10, I would drill into these additions and look at them. It's super easy to do. And then this is going to show me all the additions on that account, and I can quickly look at cost and price and make sure that they're adding up to what they should be. So that's a little bit on agreement profitability. We do have effective rate reporting, so you can see those top and bottom effective rates. Great account management reports as well. Same with a contribution rate, top and bottom. This one, of course, is looked at more on the high-level management side since it's bringing in those rates. So just however you want to see the reporting, we do have the reports kind of laid out how you want. Just something else to add here. If we have not created a report that you need, and it can add to our reporting stack, there's no cost to you to develop that report. A lot of times, I think we're up to about 170 canned reports. You get those out of the gate. So you sign up with this, you get all of the canned reports. And then if there needs to be tweaks to our reports or filters added, we can do that for you. We can bring in custom fields as well onto reports. Usually if it's like 1 or 2 custom fields, we can absorb that cost to get it added in. If you need like 10 custom fields added to 20 reports, we're probably going to scope that out, and it would be a custom engagement. We do custom reporting as well. So if it's custom to you, it's not going to help out another MSP. We can't really use it anywhere else. We will scope that out custom. A good example of custom reporting would be commission reporting. Almost everybody does it a little bit differently. Luckily, hopefully, and most of the time what I see is a lot of times we're able to use a template that we've already created and then add to it. So a lot of times you're not having to pay for full development. It's just the amount to get the reporting how you need it. All right.
A couple of questions.
Yeah.
I noticed we went from the service delivery workspace to the finance workspace, and you mentioned permissions. Is there ways to lock down the workspaces so only certain people can see them?
Yes. So one of the reasons it's set up workspace by workspace is so you can just give access to the workspaces that you want them to have. So for instance, finance, you would not want to give anybody access to that finance. It's pretty much the only one that has the most sensitive data from a salary standpoint. So like right now we're looking at agreement profitability, and as you could see, it had that drill through capability. So you could do kind of some math to figure out those fully burdened rates. The other thing with finance is it has customer profitability in here as well, project profitability. Anything that has to do with profitability is going to be in this finance workspace that you can lock down to not get any, make sure no one's in there that shouldn't be. Now we do set up workspaces for finance like almost like what we call like profitability light or finance light workspaces for like account management teams, to where we can set the report to where they can get the overall view or even just that margin review, but they can't do the drill through. So those options are there to where you can still give out the information for them to be able to focus on the clients they need to, but they don't have to drill through capability into the actual labor.
Next one is from Carolyn. She's asking if it's possible to set up monthly reports that are sent to customers.
So currently, the thing about Power BI is it's in your Power BI. So everybody that's using the reports would have to have a Power BI Pro license to be able to see it. So we do have some clients that have set up what are called dashboards. So you can kind of create dashboards with just company data. And then you would have to almost send that to yourself as a visual, and then you could forward it to the client. So it's not like an auto report to a client. Now, earlier in the call, I mentioned that we now have the C360 portal. Portal access is through web, and we're also able to give you client access through the portal. So you're able to give reports to the client that only includes their data that they can see. So it's not really that they're getting emailed reports out that you can't even tell, are they opening them, looking at them. With this, you can actually see, are they logging in? Are they looking at this data where that portal access is? So that is the new workaround. We've had tons of partners that have wanted it, and the portal is the way to kind of give them what they need. We do have a lot of clients that are starting to use the portal now, and we've had great feedback from it.
Thank you.
Let's see, common issues. So this is that common issue type, subtype, and item report I was talking to you about. Probably one of my favorites. It's the one that I was wowed. I've been wowed multiple more times since I've been here, but this is the one that just really got me, mainly because I couldn't get the information I wanted out of ConnectWise. So this is all of your tickets by type, subtype, and item. This report is in finance, so you can see labor cost. The same report is also in service. So in service, it's just giving it to you from a ticket and labor standpoint, where in finance, you've got resource costs coming in. We have a few finance and service reports that are like that. In here, you can select, I just want to see particular boards, or you can select on a particular client, and now you're looking at all of their tickets by type, subtype, and item. And then you can also see kind of ticket volume and labor volumes down here as well. The other thing that you can do with this report that I've seen very helpful is, like, let's say you need to hire a new help desk person. If you've got this data built out really well, you can take this out into like a focus mode. Here's your skill set level for hiring. So it's like, hey, we've got people to do these. We need to make sure whoever walks in this door can handle these types of tickets to be able to help our team the quickest. So I've seen it used for that, or even hiring for like an on-site resource or a main resource on a client. I've seen it used that way as well. Now, if you do not have good type, subtype, and item yet, there is this search ticket subject field that'll basically, you can type in any word. It actually does not work for demo, but I could type in printer, and then it's going to pop in any ticket that had printer in that summary. So then I can see, okay, where are most of my printer tickets coming from? Which a lot of times healthcare, school systems, those kind of things are going to have, those high printer ticket. But then you can click on the client, and then down here at the bottom, see, whoa, we had, 14 hours in 1 month, which is kind of one of those kind of deep dives. Like when I was saying, if you're looking at agreement profitability, and you have a client that's not doing well, this is the next report that I would come to start diving into their data to figure out what is going on, with that client. Ticket cost is also in here, so you can actually see average ticket cost by client, by board. You can see it by type, subtype, item. Again, you've got all of these filters over here, so you can kind of select and say, I just want to see the subtype of X. What is my average ticket cost for that across each client? So lots of different ways to kind of use this type, subtype, and item data. I want to touch on projects briefly. So we do have project reporting. We've actually got 2 webinars on projects. So if you want to see more on projects, feel free to reach out to me. I could do a demo just on projects for you, because we could probably spend 30 minutes on it. Or I can send you some of our webinars that we've had with partners. So it'll walk you through what these reports look like. Overall, you're going to be able to see all of your projects listed in one place, which is very hard to see in ConnectWise. You can sort by status, by type. Here you've got the customer, the project name. Here you've got your budget hours, which is one of the more important pieces to make sure in your projects. And then here's your actual. If you have hours scheduled out, those are going to populate in here for you as well. And then here's that budget remaining. You also can see what type of bill, like what billing type was it. So if it's an actual rate project, not as worried about it going over, but if it's a fixed fee like this one, and then we build this based on 34 hours and now we're at 88, I'm pretty concerned about that one. So this is a way for you to kind of watch these week over week or in a project meeting. You do have drill through capabilities, so you can actually drill through into the phases or the ticket notes. If I drill into the phases, it's going to pop all these phases in for me. So I can see that there's 2 open here. These are all closed out. You can also click on the actual phase itself. It's going to show you those tickets for that phase, and then you can actually drill all the way down into the project labor as well. So from this report, if you have your project set up pretty well and have all the time going to the appropriate phases, you almost don't have to go back into ConnectWise. If you do need to go back into ConnectWise, you do have your URL links back to ConnectWise if you need to. Lots of other stuff. We do have project Gantt charts based on start and end dates of projects, also resource scheduling, resource availability. Of course, that would be based on if you are scheduling out those projects to get that information. Sales dashboarding, I want to touch on that. So for sales, we've actually got opportunity dashboards, pipelines, sales dashboards. Opportunity is going to be based on opportunity create date, where your sales dashboard is based on sales close date. So it just depends on how you want to look at the data. And there's also sales activity reporting, sales audit reporting. We are pulling everything into the audit level. So you could actually see, a good one that I see a lot is like sales close date. You'll see a big jump in those changes right before sales meeting date across, time. The close, you can see here, close summary. You can kind of see, okay, how much has been won over rolling revenue time. You could say, I just want to see hardware, or just show me my recurring. If you go to one revenue, it is going to list out these opportunities down here at the bottom for you. So you can see your total non-recurring, your lifetime recurring, and then you can also see just your recurring by month. So these are all kind of set up as one cycle, but if you do put in the cycles, it will give you a list by month. So a lot of times with, ConnectWise and opportunities, people are putting in just the 1 month of data for reporting reasons, where with our reporting, you could put in lifetime if you are, selling a 3-year agreement, and we're going to still be able to show you how much revenue was brought in that month. You do have the opportunity rec IDs to go back into if you need to. So you can sort this by type, by rep, by sales date, close date. Out of date opportunities, this is always another one I always go to. This is going to list anything that has a close date that's passed. So from a cleanup effort, you would want to come in here and make sure that these are all cleaned up and those close dates are where they need to be. I want to show you a little bit on the benchmarking. So we do benchmarking to a couple of different reports. We have time entry benchmarking and also ticket quality benchmarking. Basically, we're benchmarking you against other MSPs. So we have, lots of data in our data warehouse. So we're able to say, hey, best in class MSPs are around this number. This is where you're at, and you can look at it by team, by board, however you want to look at it. So industry best benchmark 90% for time entry, and I can see that this team here is coming in at about 95% here. I can see that they did have a dip here over these months, but they have brought it back up. This is looking at immediate time entry, which is the one that we want. But if you are doing same day, we do have reporting to show this is what same day is. Of course, if you click on same day, that percentage for best in class is going to go up as well. If you go down to your quality, it's going to be the lower of these two scores. So you can see the timeliness rating 95, the recorded hours 98. So the score was around that 95% for timeliness. And then if I'm looking at my timeliness, everybody's doing really good. We're going to actually score every single time entry. And then you've got this one person here that's coming in with a lower timeliness score. You're able to actually drill through into the timeliness. And then we're going to score every single ticket. So like if I come in and look at these tickets that scored a 30%, I can see like this time the labor was on the 12th, not put until the 15th. And then here's your kind of score explanation as to why that score was lower. A lot of times when I see stuff down here in this 30–40% range, I also see a lot of this rounded time, because they're guessing at that point, which is another reason why it's important to get it in on time. It can affect profitability, utilization, and just really overall documentation. Not going to have as good of documentation if they're waiting that long to get it in, which is bad for the client, but also bad for the team. Let's say this person was out for a day and they didn't put it in, the client calls back in. Of course, you guys know all of that, but it is one of those things I've learned with engineering. I don't think there was a week that went by that I didn't talk about time entry or bring it up. And these are some of the things that I would bring up. Engineers have to understand the why behind why they have to do this stuff. The other benchmark that we have is ticket quality. So with ticket quality, we're going to look at 9 different measurements, and then we're going to give you an overall score on every single ticket. And this is another thing you can look at by board, by technician. Great for one-on-ones to say, hey, this is an area where you might could use some improvement. Best in class coming in at about 80%. This board coming in at about 87, or you could select here and say, I just want to look at this team or this person. There is overall ticket quality measure, so you can kind of see trending to see if there's something you're increasing. Let's say that you're not doing type an item yet, but you're getting that into your organization. This is going to let you see how that score is increasing. Also good to show the team, like, hey, best in class is this is where we are, and this is how far we've come. So, maybe using it even as contests. I'm all about gamifying with engineers when it comes to getting a KPI where I need it. Technician analysis, this is a way for you to see by engineer. So here you've got all your engineer scores, or you could click on a particular engineer and it's going to give you just that engineer scores. Lastly, I want to look at our TBR. So I'm not going to go through all of this. I do have a webinar on it. If you would like it, let me know. But this is pretty much a template that is built out for you for a TBR or QBR. You can treat it as a template, kind of change things around, get it how you want it. And then you can use this to meet with your client, or your account manager will have this template, to come in, review their clients, but also use this to meet with their clients. We actually have some partners now that are actually using this interactively, and the clients love it because it's pretty sharp to see. So like if I wanted to just select out one client, now I'm just looking at their data for the last 3 months. I can see how many tickets they had, resolve rate, labor hours, minutes per ticket, down to your service dashboards. You've got ticket KPIs in here. A lot of times we get asked for, who are our noisy submitters? Who's the noisy people entering tickets on a particular client? You can see in here who those are. Or let's say they say, well, Joyce isn't even supposed to be entering tickets. Okay, well, here's the type of tickets that she's entering. There is ticket load in here. We're going to give you some information on their agreements, their projects. Recommendations is basically opportunities. If they have any open opportunities, if they're going to pop in there, so that way the account manager can bring those up. Procurement, this is the only report that's going to bring in anything on cost, and it's basically going to show anything that they've purchased over a particular time period. So of course they know the price, so that's okay to have in there, but it's also a way just for the account manager to see it as well from a product sold report. So that is all I have on my agenda. While you guys feel free to throw out more questions, while you're doing that, I am going to put a poll up here. If you guys do not mind answering this, it's just a couple of questions. Would love your feedback. Of course, would love to talk to you about these reports a little bit more. And if you would like an overall demo with just me and your team, happy to set that up with you as well. Do we have any other questions that came in, Adam?
Yeah. So I think we have the Get Started app in the agreements workspace. Just wanted to highlight that and get questions about how do we make sure we're fully utilizing our ConnectWise and I guess doing things right, and make sure that when they come into our reporting that they know where to look for specific things.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, thank you for answering the poll. I'm going to end that now. Let me go really quickly. So it's in the Agreements app for demo purposes, but there's a full Get Started workspace for Cognition360. And in that Get Started workspace, we're going to have a ton of articles for you. These are articles that were asked for a lot. And then we also put in here all of our past webinars on the different reporting areas. So we've pretty much covered them all now, and now we're doing some repeats to show anything new or added since the last one. These are just YouTube. They're all about 30 minutes long, where we're going through the reports. We actually have an article that'll say, hey, if you're an account manager, watch these. Or if you're in finance, watch these. If you're an executive, we recommend these. So it's a way for you to kind of know where to focus. We're going to walk you through from an onboarding standpoint as much as we possibly can. Usually it's at least 2 to 3 hours of onboarding when you sign up that I'll need in that trial period. So everybody that signs up gets a 21-day trial. It's risk-free. And then at the end of that trial, you would decide if you want to keep Cognition360 or not. At that time, you would pay for your first month, and then there's also a one-time onboarding fee. If anybody's interested in cost, feel free to shoot me an email. And Adam, if you don't mind putting my email in the chat, that would be great. And then you guys can email me. I'm happy to get you pricing. Pricing is based on ConnectWise users. So like up to 30 users is $349 a month, and then the one-time onboarding fee of $349 as well. And again, that's after trial. You would not pay anything during trial, and also during that trial, we would set up those onboarding sessions with your partner success manager. So that's kind of how the pricing works. It's about $100 every 10 users after that, and it is your ConnectWise users. So if you're an MSP of say 30 people, you're going to be right around that $349 mark. Any other questions before we go?
Yes. Jason asked, do we provide any consulting services or configuration services to make sure that they're capturing data in an optimal way inside ConnectWise?
So during the onboarding session, your partner success manager will definitely point out areas that they feel like some improvement can be needed. So it's not really true consulting, but we're definitely, because of our background being in the MSP space and working with ConnectWise as long as we have, we can definitely help you. Now, if you need true consulting services, usually what we do is send you some recommendations for a consultant. And a lot of times we can help you to say, hey, do you want to do this yourself? This is where you need to start from a cleanup standpoint. Or would you like for us to get you with a consultant? You know, a lot of the consultants out there today will actually do the work for you. So, you know, as an MSP, you're super busy and you don't have a lot of time to do this stuff yourself, which is why it's not done today. So using a consultant will, you know, speed up that process and get it done for you. So it just depends on how much cleanup you have or how much change you want to make and how much of it do you want to do yourself.
Also add that like
Anything?
in customer support, we get a lot of questions like that as well, that like they will have maybe a potential problem and think that like, oh, what should this number actually be, or am I doing this right? And we'll kind of walk them through like, this looks weird because it's not something we normally see. And yes, a lot of people use ConnectWise for lots of different industries, but generally do things kind of in a similar way. And yeah, we have the experience to just say, yeah, that looks weird, or like, yeah, you're doing it right.
Yeah.
So we get those questions all the time.
Yeah, another thing to note, and Adam, you can attest to this being on the support side, I've probably seen 250 different instances of ConnectWise or more since I've started, and everybody does it a little bit differently. So don't let that scare you off. The cool thing is seeing, like me showing you this stuff with sample data is one thing. The magic is seeing it with your data. I've never met with someone that sees it with their data that says, "Oh no, this isn't going to work for me." There's usually they're going to get insights from the get-go. So even if you sign up for trial and you decide you don't want it in 21 days, you're going to get some great, you know, information out of it with the amount of time that you put into it. But I would say that once somebody signs up for it, our churn rate is like less than 1%. About 95% of the time, if someone sees it with their own data, they actually keep it as well.
A couple more questions here. Can this be used with on-prem ConnectWise or cloud solutions?
Either one. So the setup is a little bit different. With cloud, it's a simple NDA, cloud authorization form that you would sign where we have the ability to pull from ConnectWise. Because remember, it's not through API. Everything is going into our data warehouse and then published into your Power BI. For on-prem, the setup is a little bit different, where we're going to send you over some like security and organizational keys to be able to pull that data.
Another question is Cognition360 reporting a hosted solution or software that they install?
So it is basically through Power BI. So it's your Power BI that the reports are published into. So not really hosted, it is software, but it's basically Microsoft Power BI. So all you have to have is a Microsoft Power BI account and with an Office 365 license. And we would need an Office 365 license and a Power BI Pro account for Cognition360 as well. But everything is kind of published into your Power BI, and it is the web version that you would go into to get those reports. So you can kind of look at it wherever you want. Anything else? Those are great questions.
Yeah, they were coming in there fast there for a while. I think that's it for now.
All right. Well, I appreciate all of you attending today. Happy to answer any other questions that you have, and hopefully we can get you guys on board with the trial soon. Thanks, Adam, for your help.